King of Scars is the first book in the King of Scars duology by Leigh Bardugo. It is also the next book to Crooked Kingdom from the Six of Crows duology. Today, I'll give my thoughts and review of this book. If you watched my review of Rule of Wolves, or the next book to King of Scars, then you'd know that I was actually planning to make this review first before Rule of Wolves, so sorry about the delay. But anyway, I also mentioned in that video that I had pretty mixed opinions about King of Scars, and let's talk about it. As always, spoiler warning for this book, and with that, let's get into it. With all honesty, I was hesitant when jumping into this book because I just didn't know what Leigh was planning to do with Ravka or Nikolai and Zoya. I just felt like the ending we got from Ruin and Rising was enough, and I just didn't know what I was getting into. I'd rate this book a 4 out of 5. It was okay. It's not my most favorite Grishaverse book, and there's so much to unpack when talking about it. So, I'll separate this video into two sides. The things I liked about this book, and the things that I didn't really like. So, let's head to the things I liked. Let's start positive, because there are things that I actually liked about this book. So first is the Nikolai perspectives. If you didn't know, Nikolai was actually my most favorite character from the Grisha trilogy, and I just felt like he was the backbone of that trilogy. I absolutely loved him, and finally getting his perspective after so many books was really interesting to read, along with the flashbacks he got. Seeing Nikolai admire his brother Vasily in this book was really shocking to me, because I didn't like Vasily in Siege and Storm. He was a horrible person, and not to mention the fact that he was so annoying around Alina. But in this book, we learned the fact that Nikolai idolized Vasily and looked up to him, which is just heartbreaking when you read about how horrible Vasily treated Nikolai. So, speaking of Nikolai, we also have to talk about Nikolai's transformation into a Nichivoya, which was one of the Darkling's creatures from the trilogy. The entire focus of this book was basically finding a cure to solve Nikolai's transformations into the Nichivoya, and I was a bit disappointed that Nikolai actually decided to keep that kind of power by the end of the book. I knew that he used that to his potential and power, but I just didn't like the fact that they didn't get rid of it. And even in Rule of Wolves, they didn't get rid of it. Instead, Leigh decided to make Nikolai be one with the monster, which I guess is okay, but I just wish that they decided to get rid of it. Another thing I liked about this book was the Zoya chapters. If you remember from my review of Shadow and Bone, then you know that I did not like Zoya. But this book made me bond more with her, and I ended up liking her character. Plus, her banter with Nikolai in this book is hilarious. So, despite the fact that I think their romance was a bit too rushed, I still love these two, and they are probably the only reason why I went with this book. So, for a quick second, I don't think I can't not mention Leonie, whose last name was Healy, which if you didn't know was Jesper's mother's last name. And it turns out that Aditi Healy, or Jesper's mother, was actually the one who saved Leonie from that flashback in Six of Crows. Aditi died saving Leonie, and learning that Aditi's last name was Healy, Leonie took this last name on her own name in order to honor Jesper's mother. You know, I wish in some way Leonie and Jesper would meet, and through this, Jesper would realize that his mother's sacrifice was worth it, because Leonie survived. And after the events of Rule of Wolves, she represented the Fabricators in the Grisha Triumvirate. The fact that Leigh added Leonie in this book was amazing, and I had to say, I loved Leonie in this book. She was so optimistic compared to Adric, and I can't believe the two of them liked each other, despite being polar opposites. So those are all the things that I liked about this book, and now let's head to the things that I didn't really like. Starting off with Nina's addition. Coming from Crooked Kingdom, I loved Nina. She was kind, brave, strong, sassy, and overall an amazing person. But reading her perspective in this book was such a slog to go through in my opinion. We follow Nina as she saved Grisha from Fjorda with Adric and Leonie. I think the reason why I didn't like Nina's perspective was because I just didn't know what Leigh was trying to do with her. I get the fact that through this, Leigh is trying to show how Nina grieves for Matthias' death, but I just feel like it was unnecessary, and I just dreaded reading Nina's parts. I tried to enjoy them like how I enjoyed her parts in Six of Crows, but I just couldn't bring myself to do that in this book. Another thing we got from Nina's perspective was Hannah Brum, and the entire building romance that Nina had with her. I did not like that at all, because of what happened to Matthias, and I just felt like it was a bit too rushed to make. I get that Nina can move on from Matthias, but her relationship with Hannah just didn't feel right. Added with the fact that Hannah was the daughter of Jarl Broom, or the head of the Drskella of Fjorda, I just didn't really like that. The other thing that I didn't like about this book was the added lore and the changes to the Grisha powers. What I mean is the addition of the saints in this book, and how they were actually alive, and trapped because of the foe the Darkling made. Through a dragon named Juris, we learned that Grisha used to be much more powerful compared to now, because the Grisha were limiting themselves to just one specific power. This made me feel a bit off, because I just felt like Leigh established rules and all sorts of stuff about Grisha magic, but now she's sort of bending it up and changing it. Plus, I've heard people say that Zoya was too powerful in the series because of the bending of Grisha rules that I said earlier, and I have to agree. Zoya is a squaller, a person who could manipulate winds and storms, but by the end of this book, she can even manipulate fire, which are powers of an Inferni and not a squaller. What adds up to this is the fact that Zoya could even control water, and we saw that when she was trying to escape the place from Elisabetta and save Nikolai. It's really crazy, and I don't really understand as to why Leigh decided to do this, because the King of Scars duology is said to be the last Grishaverse series, but she's adding more stuff to Grisha powers at the last minute. So what is she trying to do here? The last thing that I didn't really like was the Darkling's return. Even if Zoya managed to burn the physical body of the Darkling came back. In this guy, I forgot his name, Yuri? And side note, Yuri is one of the most annoying characters in this book. I know that there are people saying that he deserved better, but no, he's just an annoying character to me. The fact that the Darkling came back to life, and the entire cliffhanger that Leigh made was just... I don't even know what to explain or say about that. I did not like it at all. I didn't think that this book was going to bring back the Darkling. I mean, sure, there were hints and moments around the book, but I didn't think she was that serious in doing it. The Darkling got what he deserved in Ruin and Rising, after tampering with Merzost, and I just don't like the fact that he came back. We already got closure on him in Ruin and Rising, so why bring him back? This is a Nikolai book. This is marketed as a Nikolai book, and I didn't think it was going to center around the plot to defeat the Darkling again. Especially since Alina lost her powers as the Sun Summoner in the trilogy. So now, I'll be answering the question, is this really a Nikolai book? In order to answer this question, I'm going to explain where this is coming from. In the Grishaverse fandom, Nikolai is quite a favorite among fans, and they have begged time and time again and asked Leigh Bardugo if she would write a solo series on him. Leigh admitted that she would, and that became the King of Scars and Rule of Wolves duology. This is marketed as a Nikolai book, and was said to focus on his journey as he rules Ravka after the events of Shadow and Bone. But there are so many other aspects in this series that makes fans wonder this question. I'm quite in the middle when it comes to this question, so for me, it sort of is. There are many Nikolai moments in this book, but I just wish we got more of that. I wish that instead of Nina's perspectives, we would get more on Nikolai. How he was during Shadow and Bone, how he felt about Alina after she rejected him, and how he felt when the Darkling killed off Vasily. I wanted to see how Nikolai dealt with all that, and sadly, we weren't really able to get that much of it. I mean, it was lightly touched upon, but it wasn't enough for me. It focused more on the chances that the Darkling might come back, the weird events around Ravka, Nina saving the Grisha from the Fjordans, the entire Obispaya thing with Elisabetta, Juris, and Grigory, and Zoya turning into a super Grisha with almost godlike powers. It doesn't really seem that much of a Nikolai book. To me, it's more of a Ravka book and a sequel to Shadow and Bone. So, how about you? Do you think this was a Nikolai book? Let me know in the comments down below.